Do you discriminate?
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Elaborate? What? Oh my gosh. Anyways, this video is about a CEO talking about his hiring practices, as well as DEI. As you all know, the DEI policies have been overturned through an executive order recently. This is a very trending debate topic. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm not a college student. I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's get into this.
Do you discriminate?
I want to say no, but I need to understand a little bit more about how you are asking that question. And
Oh, okay. You know what it means to
can't help me with that.
discriminate, right? Either discriminate against someone or against something or
Yes.
whatever. Do
Of
you
course.
discriminate?
So-
You do?
So I need to understand a little bit more what you mean by it, but I'll answer this, Jesse. My goal in life is not to discriminate against any person, and certainly not in any protected class. So as a corporate executive, for example, I'm responsible for hiring and things of that nature, vendor selection. So in those areas, my goal is never to do that. And as humans, of course, we make mistakes. But I think that was the thrust of your question. Of course, the other things in life where you say, hey, I have a preference for this, I have a preference for that. I like red, I like blue, right? So I think you're speaking more to like protected classes, and no, my goal is not to do that. Of course, we all make mistakes sometimes.
But when you're hiring people and you're interviewing them, you're looking at their resume, you will have to discriminate in order to get to the best qualified person, right?
No, I don't. I think when we say discriminate, and that's why I was asking you to elaborate a little bit more, we're talking more about unlawful biases based upon race, gender, age, things of that nature, right? Now, that's how I'm understanding the question. Now, as we're ascertaining qualifications for a role, we're looking at things like, were they in their last role very shortly? Do they have 10, 15, or 20 years of experience? Do they live within a reasonable commute, right? So those are judgment calls based upon your history, experience, and hiring people and their effectiveness. And then even then, half the time we get it wrong. That's just how it is with hiring.
So you will have to discriminate then, right?
Well, I think I want to be clear. When we discriminate,
Maybe he's saying he doesn't discriminate based off of race, gender, and age. I'm assuming that's what he's saying, because when the video first started, I was a little worried when he refused to answer the question. I really was, because why is it taking you so long to answer? Do you discriminate? The answer should be no. But as he elaborated, I'm like, okay, maybe this is only for are you qualified for the job? That's what he discriminates off of. At least it's not race, gender, and age, I would hope. But let's continue watching to find out.
discriminate unlawfully, that's one thing. When we are making a judgment call, we're ranking, we're making our preferences known. For example, we work with HR and we'll say, hey, I really want someone who comes from the fashion industry because I think the fashion industry provides the best experience for this role. So I wouldn't call that discrimination. I would say it's a preference that you think is going to help the individual perform better in the role. And it's not a protected status or anything of that nature.
I want to ask you about, and so are black people a protected status? Oh, let me ask you, hold that thought. Let's say that you hire someone, you're looking for an employee, and you get a person who walk into your office with their resume, and they are a DEI person. And then you get another person walking in who is experienced. They have real experience. They got the job. Would you hire the DEI person or the experienced person? The qualified person.
That's a good question. That's a good question. What is a DEI person, Jesse?
Affirmative action person. Like a black person.
I'm still a little unclear. Are you saying a minority or are you saying DEI?
DEI. Which mean affirmative
Okay.
action, reparation, kind of that. And they just changed the names along the way. And they finally came up with DEI. So would you hire, you being a professional businessman, would you hire a DEI person or an experienced person?
Well, it sounds like you're making them incongruent. So are you saying that an individual who has a protected class, a woman, a black person, a disabled person would be less qualified than someone else?
No, what I'm asking, would you hire, as a professional, would you hire a DEI person or an experienced person?
Okay. I think the question is poorly asked. I'll say that. I think the question is poorly asked. I believe what he's trying to say is, as a corporate executive, does your business have quotas, including diversity, equity, and inclusion standards? Meaning, do you have quotas on what type of people you want to hire, whether that's gender or race? That's what he's asking. Do you believe in having a quota for a DEI person? I don't like that phrase, a DEI person, because it sounds like he's just trying to make it congruent with black people. But that's Jesse Lee Peterson apparently. But yeah, basically he's trying to ask, does your corporation have quotas for black people? Point blank period. If you needed to hire someone, is there a quota on how many white or how many black people you can have? Is there a cap on how many white people you can have at your corporation? That's the backbone of his question. Let's continue.
It's a very difficult question to understand, Jesse. I'm sorry. Probably can't answer that one today.
A DEI person doesn't have to really know anything. They don't have to have experience. They just need to be DEI. Whereas a normal person will have to be experienced. They know the job. They know what they do. They're very good at it. And you had two choices to make. A choice between one or the other. Would you hire the DEI person or would you hire the experienced person?
Well, when we're hiring for any role, Jesse, it's about who is most appropriate for the organization and who can do the work. It's
The
a
best
business,
qualified, right?
It's the individual that's most qualified for the work. And I want to be clear, I am not at all co-signing on any assertion that diverse candidates are any less qualified than non-diverse candidates. So I do.
What do you mean by that? Are you saying the DEI person would be as qualified as the experienced person?
Well, I would never call anyone a DEI candidate.
But that's what they call it.
I would say.
Right? That's what they call it.
Well,
Why would you call it that?
And I want to point something out with this discussion. This discussion kind of highlights the hypocrisy in the quotas for DEI. And the reason I'm saying that is because he keeps saying DEI person, DEI person, DEI person. And I can tell the executive is getting a little annoyed by this. He's getting visibly triggered by that phrase. But if your corporation has quotas for DEI, then technically the person that you hire under that quota is a DEI person. I'm not saying they're not technically qualified to do the job. I didn't say that. I'm saying that they're technically a DEI person if you have a DEI quota that they were hired under. So this kind of begs the question. When it comes to merit and when it comes to quotas or equitable quotas, when you have an equitable quota, people that you pick under this equitable quota, are technically DEI people. Technically. But if you don't have a quota and you just hire who's the most qualified person, point blank period, no one can have this discussion with you. No one can call you anything because at the end of the day, you're just qualified. I hope what I said just made sense. I think Jesse Lee Peterson isn't saying it the best way. He's not trying to be politically correct in this conversation. But I kind of tried to change around his words to make it make sense.
Well, I can only share my experience in 20 years of working in Fortune 500 companies. I've never used that terminology for a candidate. I've never heard a professional human resources counterpart use that terminology. But I will say this, when we think about the overall goals of the organization, and we know statistically diverse organizations outperform non-diverse because you have so many different ideas and lived experiences, right, that you can bring to the table. Many organizations do establish goals for diversity. For example, I worked at Whirlpool, and one of their goals was to improve the percentage and number of Black women in manager plus leadership roles. So that was a specific goal. And it was also a business goal. It was a business goal because they wanted to be more successful by having more and diverse opinions at the table when decisions are made.
And so those Black women that they're hiring, because they're female and because they're Black, wouldn't they be DEI persons? Because they're not as qualified, right? It's only because they're Black
No,
and female, right?
no. So let me continue with the example, Jesse. So when an organization, I think very responsibly decides, hey, we want to diversify our pool of candidates so that we can then have a more diverse employee base that can make better decisions. That's all it is you're opening the funnel, right? So you're saying we historically recruited from this non-diverse college. And
this is just a question. This is a question. Why wasn't the funnel always open? And I think this is a fair question because why is it when an executive says, okay, let's flip the switch and open the funnel and start, why wasn't it always like this? I think that's a little more racist than just deciding to open the funnel and picking people, because at the end of the day, if you guys have the power to just at will say, okay, we want more Black people here, we want more women here, let's open the funnel and find them. That tells me that you know exactly where they are and you are making a conscious decision to not go there until you feel like it. So why are you guys doing that? Why? If you know exactly how to get these people who work here, why don't you just keep the funnel open all year round and have the best candidate win? It makes me believe, and I may be wrong, I may be 100% wrong. It just makes me believe that you don't think this is the best business practice to practice all the time. Because if it was, the funnel would have never been closed. The funnel would have never closed ever. Corporations can keep the funnel open, like he said, the funnel open all the time. But the fact that you pick and choose when you open and close the funnel, it makes it look performative. It really does. Because at the end of the day, your goal is to make money. If you thought this was the best decision to make money, you would just keep the funnel open. Why not? Real question. This is a genuine question. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. My name is LFR JoJo, and I'll see you guys on the next one.